Welcome to the So You Miss Church podcast. Hey, we're happy to have you here with us today as this is our pilot episode. First off, happy Monday to you. And I want to welcome you to a brand new podcast that I am hoping is going to be helpful to you every single week. Because every Monday, we will be releasing a brief, maybe 5 to 10 minute episode that we hope will serve as some sort of encouragement to you. My name is Clint Daly, and I am excited that you are here today as we begin what I hope will be a positive and impactful podcast on your life. You know, yesterday, of course, was Easter Sunday. And Easter Sunday is one of the biggest days in the world of Christianity and one of the biggest days of the year that people attend church. So here's a quick question for you. Did you make it? Did you go to church yesterday? Hey, there's no judgment here. In fact, this brings me to a very important aspect of this podcast. So here is my question for you as we start this journey. What does church mean to you? And I want you to stop and I want you to consider that for just a moment. When I say the word church, you may get a million different images in your mind. Maybe you think of a positive and encouraging place where you had some very supportive friends and a place where your pastor, priest, or minister brought you a practical message that really helped you get through your week in a welcoming community that made you feel actually a little closer to God. And it truly helped you in your everyday walk with Him. Or maybe not. Maybe when I say church, you think of horrifying scandals and hypocrisy, complete with those same people that were involved in those scandals judging you and everyone else on this planet. Maybe you think of a place where there were a number of social cliques in which you never really felt all that welcome. And yet, you felt a ton of guilt if you didn't go each week. Or maybe when I say church, you think of a place that was just utterly and completely confusing to you. You were always sitting down when everyone else was standing up. You never quite understood what in the world those songs were about. And you really had no idea what the speaker was even talking about. There were a lot of kind of Christian terms and phrases that were thrown around. And to be honest, you might not have had the foggiest idea what any of them even meant. Maybe when I say church, it brings to mind a place that you were forced to go as a kid. And then you did your best just to stay awake. Because let's face it, the message may not have had that much to do with you, and it was all you could do to just remain conscious. Perhaps when you hear the word church, you feel a rush of fear. You feel very unsure about some of the things that churches discuss. And from what you've heard, they talk a lot about things like death and eternal damnation. And you can't imagine for the life of you why anyone would want to sit and listen to that. Or maybe you hear the word church and you simply roll your eyes and you pity the gullible fools that actually believe any of that stuff. Those beliefs are completely outdated, and they're simply crutches for people who are dumb enough to be hoodwinked into another weirdo cult that is only after you and your money. But let me say this before we go any further today. If you heard any of those options and you thought to yourself, yeah, that kind of is exactly what I think, then my message to you is simple. I get it. I get it, and I understand. You know, Mahatma Gandhi once said, if it wasn't for Christians, I'd consider becoming one. And unfortunately, I completely understand that sentiment. So on this podcast, our first episode right here, we're not going to shy away from addressing some of those subjects. We're not going to pretend that they don't exist. What we want to do is discuss what the Bible says and then try to apply some common sense to what we read. And let's see if we can't grow and improve and understand a little more. See, I want this podcast to improve both our spiritual and our mental health. And yes, I said those two words, mental health. I know sometimes mental health isn't discussed in church. I actually think that's a big mistake. I want this podcast to help you start your week on a positive note. And I'm hoping that eventually you will start to feel like you are part of a community here, as virtual as it may be. I want to assure you of two things. One, I do not want your money. Please keep it. I don't really need to put a steeple on the podcast. I don't need to hang any big screen TVs in the lobby. If you send me any money, I'm donating it to charity. And two, I'm not interested in telling you how to live your life. That is not my job. I'm simply going to present things that I hope will help you in your daily life. I'm not here to bash your church or any church. Hey, if your church does things a certain way, great. If you get something out of it, enjoy. If your church lights the pulpit on fire and you dance around it, but you get something out of it, hey, more power to you. Try not to burn yourself. Try not to get your clothes dirty. This podcast is not a church. I am simply trying to offer an alternative way to hear a message that I believe everyone would probably benefit from hearing. So I hope you'll join me on this journey. I hope maybe you'll even encourage a few friends to join us on this journey as well. If you have a question that you'd like to send in, or maybe a comment that you'd like to send to us, feel free to email us at youmisschurch@gmail.com. You can follow us on Facebook. You can follow us on X at YouMissChurch. You can also follow us on YouTube at YouMissChurch and listen to the podcast there if it's easier. I know yesterday was Easter. I hope that you enjoyed it with loved ones. I hope that it was an impactful day to you. I wish you all a happy Monday, and I hope that you have a great week.